So it feels like everybody did their top 10 lists. I didn't get the memo, and I don't want to be late to the party. Eventually, I'll do individual positions, but these are my top 10 offensive lines going into the 2024 season. Real quickly, what's up? My name is Cole Thompson. If you're new here, welcome on into the channel. I talk college football daily, so if this is the type of content you enjoy, make sure that you smash that subscribe button, hit the ring notification. That way you don't miss a single episode. Comment down below who is the top offensive line in the country going into 2024. Tell your friends, family, mortal enemies, best of bros, college football fans everywhere about this channel, because I'm on the race to become the #1 YouTube personality talking about our favorite sport, and I want to turn this channel into the #1 college football community on YouTube. You can follow me on all the social channels at Mr. Cole Thompson, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and if you want to be a part of our Mailbag Monday series, go ahead and email me, colethompsonwriting@gmail.com, or slide in the DMs on Twitter. And if it's not mentioned in the Monday mailbag, don't worry. I usually turn them into one-off videos. Offensive line play going into 2024 is going to be essential. The 10 teams that I list, you're going to notice something about them. They all have win totals, according to FanDuel, of over 8.5. And do you know why? Because they have stellar play up front. It's great if you have a stable quarterback. It's great if you have good defensive players. It's great if you have awesome wide receivers. But if you do not have a sturdy front five and a great pass rush up the middle, you are basically paddling upstream with styrofoam pads. So let's go into the honorable mentions real fast. Ohio State, Seth McLaughlin comes on over from Alabama. They still keep both of their starting tackles. It's a bit of a mix-up overall. I think that they're a good offensive line, not a great offensive line. Still could be one of the best when it comes to rushing. Florida is really good with rushing. They had a ground and pound style offense last year, headlined by Montrell Johnson and Trevor Etienne. I think you're going to see the same of that. Jake Slaughter is back here for another season. And the kid that you just add in, Jason, I'm not even going to try to pronounce his last name, out of USC. Long-term addition that's going to benefit your offensive line. NC State, the other one. Death, taxes, great defense, great rushing attack, led by Dave Duran. Those are just things that happen in Raleigh, North Carolina. Largely due to the offensive line. 4 starters are back with over 40 starts under their belt. Number 10, Ole Miss. Lane Kiffin's done a great job of always being able to add in players via the portal when it comes to wide receivers, defensive backs, and linebackers. But he made it clear last season after losing to Georgia, basically because they couldn't stop the run, we got to be better in the trenches on both sides of the football. And we've talked about Princely Umanlielen coming on over. We've talked about Walter Nolan coming on over. We haven't really mentioned Diego Pounds coming on over. That's a really good plug-and-play left tackle addition. They also went and they added in 2 Husky players from Washington's Joe Moore offensive line in Julius Brenlow and Nate Keplow. They also have in Southern Miss transfer Jerquain Scott, who's probably going to have a chance to start. They also have 3 starters back with the combined 111 starts under their belt. So they have quality players, they have quantity of players. The question is, what is going to be the starting 5 and how quickly can they all mesh together? Number 9, Missouri. Missouri kind of fills in the same process, but the guys that they added in are a lot more stable than I think than what is in Oxford right now. You go and add in Caden Green, which if that was not enough to add fuel to the fire, Eli Drinkowitz's comments towards Oklahoma, yeah, that's definitely going to make this one of the best rivalries in the SEC. Move on over Arkansas. You're no longer even in the thought process of Missouri, even if you think that you are. You also added in Marcus Bryant, the offensive tackle out of SMU. I think that's a really good fit because Caden Green is probably better suited on the right side of the line. Well, now I get to play the right side, at least for one more year, because of now you're bringing in Marcus Bryant, who was an all-AAC tackle for the Mustangs en route to a conference championship. They also bring back one of the best centers in college football this upcoming season. That's a huge win for them, in my opinion, because if you know that they need to get better on that side of the football. So I look top to bottom at where this team is. There's not a lot of question marks. There's also not a lot of flaws. It's just how quickly can you get everyone to be on the same pace. Colin Tollison, I apologize for missing on his name. Number 8, Miami. Miami is getting developed by Mario Cristobal. And Cristobal may not be the elite coach that people once thought he was, but he definitely knows what he's looking for in offensive lines. And he turned out multiple All-Americans when he was at Alabama, and he turned out multiple All-Americans when he was at Oregon, and he's doing the exact same thing right now down in Coral Gables. Francis Malauga, definitely one of the best offensive tackles in college football. Samson Okunla coming on in, both true sophomores. Last year, one was an All-ACC and All-American. You also have Jalen Rivers on this roster. Zach Carpenter comes on over from Indiana. That's a huge win in my opinion. So there's not a lot of issues with this team. The question is everyone going to mesh together to where you see a cohesive balance? And if so, yeah, you're in a really good spot. This is a team with guys that have over 45 career starts under their belt, but a lot of upside and intrigue going into year 3. Number 7, speaking of Mario Cristobal, Oregon, the team that he left and the team that basically has become a Frankenstein monster. If you've watched any of my videos, you've heard me use that term because you can drop Oregon in any conference, and I think that they would be able to handle themselves and get to 10 wins because they got wide receivers built for one conference, they got offensive linemen built for another, they got defensive linemen made for the SEC, and so now they're going into the Big Ten, which still feels really weird to say, with really talented players that are going to, I think, be stable from the get-go. Not only do they have Anjay Cornelius coming back in, who was honestly one of the best offensive tackles, even though he came on over from an FCS school, they also bring in Matthew Bedford from the transfer portal out of Indiana. They also have back Marcus Harper. The only real major name that they're missing going into this year is Jackson Powers Johnson. And in my opinion, if you can find a way to replace his production up the middle, there's not many question marks. This is a very easy, intricate offense to learn underneath Will Stein, but it feels like with the right pieces in play, again, there's a reason we're talking about Oregon and Texas as being newcomers in their conference, but immediately showing up to the party with the big boy table. Alabama at number 6. They have arguably the best interior offensive line combo in the country in Tyler Booker and Jaden Roberts. I think it's going to be really hard to find a better pairing. They also bring over Parker Brailsford from the Joe Moore winning offensive line at Washington, who has a clear understanding about what Kalen DeBoer wants. I consider that a win. Elijah Pritchett, does he move on over now to right tackle with Caden Proctor back, who, by the way, had arguably the best offseason of any player possible because he goes to Iowa, watches Caitlin Clark set records, and then says, you know what, I'm going to come back to Alabama. And you look at Kalen DeBoer like, oh, I'm going to say no to that? No, not at all. The question that I have with Alabama, and the reason I'm a lot lower on them with them at 6 and not the top 5, they have great quality starters. They don't have great quantity. There are questions behind the starting 5. So how do you feel about this roster if you lose a Parker Brailsford? How do you feel if you lose a Tyler Booker? How do you feel if you lose a Elijah Pritchett? And somebody else has got to fill in. I feel a lot more confident in the top 5 being able to make up those names and be able to replace that production, where Alabama, it's a good team, very good team. And I'm not worried about them whatsoever if they stay healthy. But if you are having to replace one, you may be in a little bit of trouble. Tennessee at number 5, this feels a little bit rich for some people because nobody knows what their left tackle Lance Hurd is going to be. If you talk to anybody at LSU, they're pissed. They're just pissed. And they knew this was a potential possibility that was always going to happen because they have arguably the best tackle duo in the country. And when you have that, and you got a good player, a blue chip collar prospect that wants to see action right away, yeah, you're going to risk losing him. And they did. And now he's coming on over and he's going to be a starter. And he has first round capability. You watch the way that he practices. You talk to people in Knoxville too. They said that he immediately fit in with this offense, especially for Nico Iamaleava. They also are moving over John Campbell Jr. from left tackle to right tackle. Cooper Mays has, I think, 3 years of starting experience. Spraggins at right guard. There's like 91 career starts on this roster as a whole, and they have good depth. People are going to forget about this name, but they shouldn't because he's going to see action this year. Dane Davis is going to play. He's a 6-year senior that has experience everywhere. And so when you ask me what's the difference between Alabama and Tennessee going into this season, Alabama's got really good starters. So does Tennessee. Alabama has some question marks when it comes to the defense, when it comes to the depth. Tennessee really doesn't. When you get a guy like Dane Davis that can play multiple spots, yeah, you're going to have a little bit of an advantage. Georgia, number 4. Is really isn't a knock at this point. The top 5, you can rotate them however you want. I'm not going to argue with you because they do return both of their starting tackles, which is a big deal. Amarius Mims, yeah, he played last year, but he also kind of split reps at times. They do bring back Dylan Fairchild. They bring back Tate Rutledge at guard. They have a really good up-and-coming, promising left tackle in Ernest Green. Their only real major replacement, the one that you're kind of sitting here and going, this could be a little bit of a struggle, it's Cedric Van Pran. Like, that's the one dude that you're probably going to have to say goodbye to. And instead, what do? You go ahead and you replace him with what? Stacey Steele? That's kind of where you are. This is always going to be a team that competes for the Joe Moore Award. They haven't won it recently, but they've come in second place. They're always the bridesmaid, never the bride. You find a way to replace Cedric Van Pran, and you feel confident in the rest of this roster. You're picking thumbs at this point. Oh, by the way, they're gonna have a really good test week 1. Make fun of Clemson all you want, and that Dabo doesn't want to get with the times. He gets defensive line. He gets defensive lines really well, and he's pretty good at it. Number 3, Oklahoma State. Anybody who's ever been in this situation when they've tried to quit smoking and they have to go ahead and go through the repercussions, and that's 2 a.m. and you went out drinking with your buddies and you grab that cigarette, and it's this is my last one. And then it's you start with another pack. I can't quit you. That's that last cigarette. It's this offensive line because I can't quit Oklahoma State. I want to. I don't want to give them praise because I don't trust Alan Bowman. But you look at Ollie Gordon, and what more do you have to say? I'm just going to read off this list and tell you what this offensive line has done. Cole Birmingham is a redshirt senior. Dalton Cooper is a redshirt senior. Joe Maliski is a redshirt senior. Jake Springfield is a redshirt senior. And Preston Wilson is a redshirt senior. They have 172 combined starts between them. Let me go ahead and make this clear for those of you that probably don't have great math purposes. That's 2 years of complete starting experience going into year 3, and several of them are going into their 4th season as starters. You don't need to throw the football when you have a great running back in Ollie Gordon, when you do have a great offensive line that's opening avenues, and hopefully you have at least a contingency plan if you were forced to throw it on 3rd down, because you got weapons. You got 2 really good wide receivers. But again, this is a line that's going to lose some talent, but because of the ruling with the NCAA that gives you that medical red shirt, there's going to be 2 or 3 guys that might be back next season. This is a big reason why I don't think you can count out Mike Gundy and the Pokes in 2024. 2 is Texas. Not only are they one of the most complete offensive lines in the country, they're one of the most direct offensive lines in the country and precise offensive lines in the country. For those of you that don't know what I mean by that, Kyle Flood doesn't miss. You don't see a lot of reaching and grabbing and falling down. You don't see a lot of penalties. They are clear-cut slice and dicing like surgeons. You have arguably the best tackle in college football in Calvin Banks, who from the second he stepped onto the field from Humble High School has been that guy. He has been the best offensive lineman on the team. And now you're getting 2 other players to come on in that have experience, but now full-time experience. The right side of the offensive line is just going to be stupidly good because you got Cameron Williams, and then you also have DJ Campbell. You also have Jake Majors at center. So literally from the center over, it's just size and sturdiness. And then you have a question mark at left guard opposite of Calvin Banks. Hayden Connor is going to be competing with 2 freshmen for that job. But do you understand what this is? It's great freshmen that are pushing a guy who has starting experience from the jump. Really hard not to fall in love with Texas' offensive line. They're built not just because of Steve Sarkisian has experience in the SEC. They're built because they have a great offensive line protecting Quinn Ewers. But anybody that's watched any of my videos knows number 1 is LSU. I prioritize tackles like I prioritize anything else in my life. They are right up there for me. If I am building a team, I am building with an edge rusher and an left tackle. That's what I'm doing. 10 out of 10. They have the best left tackle in college football for my money in Will Campbell. They have the best player in college football for my money in Will Campbell. And then you throw in Emory Jones. That's a top 15 pick. So they have the best tackle duo in the country protecting a veteran quarterback who is, yes, new, taking over because of you aren't having Jaden Daniels, but it's not like Garrett Nussmeier hasn't seen playing time. Miles Frazier is back. Garrett Dellinger is back. You have a new center in DJ Chester. That that's it. That's your question mark. Everything else is there. There's nothing else that you have to worry about. And even then, you say, well, you got great weaponry. You got a good offensive-minded coach. They've been building for this moment. And the big thing for me at the end of the day will always come down to, hey, do you have 2 great tackles? Oh, no, you have 2 All-American tackles. Oh, you have 2 top 15 pick potential tackles. Yeah, that makes you the best offensive line. Yeah, anybody who is not putting money down on Baton Rouge to have still a potent offense in 2024, I don't know what to tell you. You just don't like Brian Kelly. But those are my top 10 those are my top 10 offensive line groups going into 2024. Hit me in the comment section. Who was I too low on? Who was I too high on? Was I right, wrong, indifferent? Who did you want to see on this list? And what's another top 10 that you want to see? Make sure that you like, rate, review, subscribe, hit the ring notification. That way you don't miss an episode of just saying it. Follow me on all the social chat platforms at Mr. Cole Thompson. And make sure if you want to be a part of the Mailbag Monday that you email me, ColeThompsonWriting@gmail.com, or slide in the DMs on Twitter. Until next time, folks, have a happy, safe weekend. I'm Cole Thompson. Later. Hey, you made it to the end of the video. That's awesome. Thank you so much. But before you leave, make sure that you hit subscribe. And if you want to check out any of our other great work, make sure you click on one of the videos here. Am I pointing at the right spot? I'm not entirely sure. I'm really not.